When a man pulls away, it's not always to leave you. Sometimes it's to return to himself. The question is, will you lose yourself waiting? Let me tell you something that might just set your soul straight, my friends. A man's silence does not always mean he's losing interest. Sometimes it means he's locked in, focused, wrestling shadows you can't see. And if you don't understand how men really work, you'll start doubting yourself over a test that was never even about you. See, a woman's mind fills in blanks. A man's silence writes no explanation. That's a dangerous combination unless you learn to read between the pauses. If you've ever caught yourself refreshing your messages, checking last seen, wondering if you did something wrong because he hasn't texted back, this one is for you. Because by the end of this, you're not just going to feel reassured, you're going to feel recentered. You're going to stop reacting to his silence and start commanding your energy. And hey, before we get any deeper, let me ask something of you. If this already hits a nerve or a truth, press that like button and subscribe. This isn't mass market fluff, and this is soul-fed, spine-straightening truth. And your support helps me keep showing up for women like you, who are done settling for confusion and ready for clarity. Now, hey ladies, imagine this. You're in a room with two speakers. One is blasting noise constantly, talking, filling every second. The other, he speaks once and everyone stops to listen. That's the difference between empty attention and real presence. And it's the same with texting. Some men send messages constantly because they need connection to feel whole. Others, they go silent because they're dealing with life like warriors, internally, privately, intentionally. But here's where the chaos creeps in. When you interpret that silence as disinterest, when your mind creates stories louder than reality, you start thinking, is he bored? Is he over me? Did I say too much? And just like that, you shift, you shrink, you spiral, not because of what he did, but because of what you believe that silence meant. Let me set this straight right now. Men don't love like we do. They don't need to speak to stay connected. They can disappear into focus, into work, into problem-solving mode, and still care deeply. You ever seen a man fix something? He doesn't talk while doing it. He locks in. And if he's trying to figure out his life, his future, his finances, his emotions, he may not send good morning, beautiful texts like clockwork. But that doesn't mean his heart's gone, and it means his focus is somewhere else. And that's not disrespect, that's masculine wiring. But let me be clear, if his silence causes you to unravel, that's your work to do. Because a woman who stays calm in the pause, who doesn't beg for energy, who doesn't chase attention, that woman becomes unforgettable. Not because she's unavailable, but because she's unshakable. So today we start shifting that story. Write this in the comments right now. Don't just think it, declare it. I stay calm, I stay grounded, I stay radiant. Say it out loud. Type it below. Let your fingers write what your soul needs to remember. And stay with me. Because next, I'm going to break down what his silence actually means and how to turn that space into the moment that changes everything. Number one. The masculine mind. When silence isn't distance, it's duty. A man's silence isn't always the sound of leaving. Sometimes it's the sound of him staying in the only way he knows how. Let's go deeper now, my friends. Let's talk about something they rarely teach you, not in school, not in therapy, and certainly not on your favorite dating app. The masculine mind. Because if you don't understand how it works, you'll misread every pause, every delay, every silence as something personal. And that's how power leaks. That's how doubt grows. That's how incredible women lose themselves over something that was never about them in the first place. See, men love differently. They express it like they fight, through action, through purpose, through protection. And when a man goes quiet, it's not always because he's drifting. Sometimes it's because he's diving into the work, into the chaos, into his own inner world, the part he was never taught how to explain with words. Imagine a submarine. It disappears from the surface, no signal, no sound. You can't see it, can't reach it. And for a moment you think it's gone. But it's not. It's still there, navigating silently beneath the noise. That's how the masculine mind often works. Still there, still strong, just silent. But if you don't understand that, you panic, you assume the connection is sunk, you start texting twice, then 3 times, then deleting the 4th. You overanalyze. Did I say something wrong? Is he losing interest? Was it that one comment I made on Tuesday at 4:17 p.m.? And boom, you're spiraling. Because somewhere along the way, you were taught that love equals constant communication. That if he cares, he'll show up like you do, with words, updates, heart emojis, reassurance. But here's the truth they don't tell you. Men don't swim in emotional flow the same way women do. Men operate in compartments. They zoom in, tunnel vision. When he's at work, he's in work. When he's solving a problem, he's in that problem. When he's struggling inside, he doesn't broadcast it. He buries it, tries to fix it alone, not because he doesn't care about you, but because that's what he was taught makes him a man. Carl Jung once said, "The unconscious mind seeks clarity in solitude." So when he pulls back, when he stops texting every morning, when he doesn't reply to your "how was your day" right away, that might not be distance, that might be duty. Duty to his purpose, to his work, to solving whatever inner storm he's wrestling. But because you've been conditioned to expect constant connection, you start equating silence with rejection. And my friends, that is where the lie lives. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. This doesn't mean you make excuses for weeks of ghosting. This means you learn to pause, breathe, and ask, is he absent or is he just focused? And here's the kicker. The woman who understands this, who doesn't make his quiet moments about her worth, she becomes a rare kind of peace in his chaotic world. She's not the one who says, "Why didn't you text me back?" She's the one who radiates, "I trust my value, even in the quiet." That kind of energy, that's unforgettable, that's powerful, that's magnetic in a way no chase message will ever be. So the next time his texts slow down, don't rush to fill the space. Don't grip tighter, don't spiral. Get still, get strong, because silence isn't always the end. Sometimes it's the middle of a man doing the hard internal work that words can't describe. Now stay with me, because next we're flipping the script on something even more surprising. What if I told you that a man who texts too much could also be waving a red flag? You won't want to miss this. Number 2, if he's always texting, that's not romance, that's a red flag. Just because he talks a lot doesn't mean he's telling the truth. And just because he's quiet doesn't mean he's hiding something. Now let's flip the mirror, my friends, because I know what you're thinking. Okay, so silence might mean focus. Got it. But what about the ones who text all day? The ones who message morning, noon, and night? Let's talk about that man. The one who's constantly in your inbox. The one who makes you feel seen, wanted, adored right away. And listen, that attention, it feels good. Like warm sunlight after a cold night. But let me ask you something real. Does he ever go deeper? Or does he just stay on the surface, repeating sweet lines that feel like they've been copy-pasted to 20 other women before you? Because here's what no one tells you. A man who texts too much, too fast, too soon might not be expressing love. He might be soothing his own anxiety. Or worse, he might be building a fantasy, not a foundation. It's easy to send a flood of messages. But real presence, that's rare. And if his communication is constant, but his actions never align, you've got to pause. You've got to ask, is this connection or performance? Sometimes the guy who never stops texting is the same one who disappears when things get real. Why? Because texting gave him control. It let him curate his image. But real intimacy, real consistency, that takes more than thumbs. That takes character. So don't confuse digital closeness with emotional depth. A man who truly sees you doesn't just send messages, he shows up in real time with real energy. And if you're chasing dopamine from his daily texts but never feel grounded in the relationship, you're being fed crumbs that look like connection. Number 3, you can't read a man through a woman's lens. You don't measure heat with a ruler, so why are you measuring a man's love with your language? Let's clear something up, my friends. Men are not emotionally broken. They're emotionally different. And the reason you feel confused, anxious, or like you're walking through a fog every time he pulls back is because you're trying to read him through your emotional lens, but you can't understand a lion by asking him to sing like a bird. See, women connect through words, through sharing, through the beautiful chaos of emotional flow. When you care about someone, you want to talk to them, often, intimately. So when he doesn't do that, your brain says, he must not feel what I feel. If I were into someone, I'd show it differently. Exactly, you would. But he's not you. He's not wired like you. And when you start expecting him to express like you do, you're not loving him, you're trying to convert him. Imagine you're listening to a symphony in the wrong key. All the instruments are playing something beautiful, but you can't hear it because you're tuned to a different frequency. That's what happens when you read his stillness as disinterest. When you expect his words to reflect your emotions, you miss the music, my friend. And here's the truth. Some men express love in the way they plan your future without telling you yet. In the way they ask if you made it home safe, in the way they fix things. Pay attention to details. Remember something small you said 3 weeks ago. That's expression. It may not be romantic poetry in your inbox, but it's devotion in his dialect. So the next time he gets quiet, ask yourself this: is he silent or is he steady? Is he distant or is he devoted in his own way? Because when you stop demanding that love speak your language, you might finally hear what it's been saying all along. Number 4, emotional endurance is what separates the women he remembers from the ones he forgets. The most powerful woman in the room is rarely the loudest. She's the one who doesn't flinch when silence walks in. Let's talk about emotional endurance, my friends. Not the kind you fake with a smile while your insides scream. Not the kind where you pretend not to care and call it playing it cool. I'm talking about the real thing, the kind that comes from a woman who's done the inner work, who doesn't just act unbothered, she is unshaken. Because here's the secret most never tell you. When a man pulls back, he's not always testing you on purpose. But life is, and how you respond to that quiet moment, the space between good morning texts, the sudden shift in his tone, the unread message for 10 hours and counting, that's where your power either solidifies or scatters. It's not the woman who texts 3 times to check in. It's not the one who asks, "Did I do something wrong?" It's not the one who throws subtle guilt into every follow-up. No, he doesn't remember that woman, and he remembers the one who didn't flinch, the one who stayed radiant, composed, mysterious in the most magnetic way. Imagine a mountain in a storm, winds howling, rain crashing, thunder echoing across the sky. But the mountain, it doesn't move. It doesn't yell back at the thunder. It doesn't send desperate signals to the clouds asking them to stop. It stands. And that, my friends, is what emotional endurance feels like. Still, rooted, confident. The woman who embodies that, she becomes unforgettable. Not because she said the perfect thing, but because she said nothing and still left a mark. See, men don't chase volume. They remember vibration. And when your presence says, "I trust myself even in uncertainty," he feels that. He respects it. And whether he fully understands it or not, he's moved by it. So the next time you feel the urge to chase, explain, just check in, or fill the space, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, do I want to be remembered or just momentarily reassured? Because the woman who speaks through stillness, who doesn't beg to be seen, who lets her silence echo louder than desperation ever could, she stays in his memory longer than any good morning text ever will. Number 5, don't respond to silence with noise, respond with purpose. A queen doesn't announce her worth in panic. She lets silence reveal what noise never could. Let's talk about one of the most dangerous reflexes in dating, my friends, the panic response. He doesn't text back and your stomach tightens, your mind starts building scenes that don't exist. Is he with someone else? Did I come on too strong? Was it something I said? And before you even realize what's happening, you've picked up your phone and typed out a casual little message just to check in. But let's be real, it's not casual, it's fear wearing lip gloss. Because here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. Most women respond to silence with noise, more texts, more questions, more emotional gymnastics just to feel stable again. But what you don't realize is that kind of reaction doesn't bring you closer. It actually pushes you further from the respect you deserve. Every time he pulls away, you've got 2 choices. React like a girl who's scared to lose him, or respond like a woman who already knows she's the prize. Let me make it plain. The moment you chase his energy, you step off your throne. The moment you try to fix the quiet, you're saying, "My peace depends on your attention." Imagine a fire alarm going off in a silent art gallery. It's jarring, awkward, out of place. That's what emotional noise looks like in moments that call for grace. Stillness is your power. Composure is your weapon. Not for manipulation, but for alignment, for self-respect, for clarity. And listen, I know how badly you want to be seen. He was giving you energy. He made you feel special. Now it's radio silence, but hear me clearly. Silence isn't always punishment. Sometimes it's space for revelation. Let him miss you. Let him wonder. Don't be the woman who scrambles. Be the woman who leans back. Be the woman who uses that space to pour into herself, not chase after someone else's attention. You don't need to beg for energy. You are the energy. You don't need to prove your worth. You embody it. Let your absence speak where your words don't need to. Let your calm say, I'm not desperate. I'm desired. Number 6, when you fill the space he left with you, you become irreplaceable. A man may leave space, but only a woman who knows her worth knows how to fill it without losing herself in it. Let's get real, my friends. You want to know what actually makes a woman unforgettable? It's not how many selfies she sends. It's not how quickly she replies. It's not even how much she shows she cares. It's how she carries herself in the absence. Because anyone can shine when attention is flowing. But when he pulls back, when the texts slow down, when the energy shifts into silence, that's when the real ones are revealed. You want to know what drives a man wild? A woman who doesn't fall apart when he disappears. A woman who doesn't send the just wondering message. A woman who doesn't perform her anxiety, doesn't text just to keep his interest warm like leftovers. No, no, no. She fills that space with herself. She books that yoga class. She meets with her girls. She recenters. She recalibrates. She reminds herself, his silence is not my command to collapse. It's my invitation to expand. See, when you make him the center of your emotional weather, you give away your power. But when you let you be the focus, something sacred happens. You become irreplaceable. Because here's what no one tells you. The women who are hardest to forget aren't the ones who tried the hardest to impress. They're the ones who kept blooming in silence. The ones who didn't chase attention. They embodied it. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And girl, that applies to love too. If you keep reacting to silence without understanding your own emotional programming, you'll keep repeating the same story. Text, wait, spiral, shrink. But the moment you pause and say, hold up, this isn't rejection, this is reflection. This is space, and I know how to fill space with me. That's when everything changes. Because a man may go silent, but the woman who responds with strength, with self-love, with her energy still rooted, still powerful, still rising, that woman leaves a mark that no other woman can erase. Number 7, don't play the game, define the standard. The moment you stop auditioning is the moment you start attracting what's worthy of your stage. Let me say something that might sting a little, my friends. Too many powerful women are still trying to win men who haven't even earned the right to stand next to them. You're not in competition. You're not in a casting call for Girlfriend of the Year. You are the damn standard. But if you don't know that, if you don't live like that, then you'll keep playing a game that was never meant for someone like you. See, this world told you to be likable, to be low maintenance, to be cool when he pulls away. They told you, if you're easygoing, if you don't ask too much, if you don't seem needy, maybe he'll choose you. But here's the truth no one tells you. You're not here to be chosen. You're here to be clear about what you choose. You're not the contestant, you're the qualifier. And the moment you start treating yourself like the prize, you'll stop performing for attention and start attracting alignment. Imagine a lighthouse. It doesn't chase boats, and it doesn't flash desperately. It stands tall, rooted, glowing in stillness. And the ships that are meant to find it, they do. Be that. Be the woman who doesn't flinch when he's quiet. Because she's too busy building a life so bold, so beautiful, so rich with purpose, that it speaks louder than any text ever could. You want to know what really makes a man sit up and take notice? It's when he feels that your world doesn't pause when he pulls back. It's when he sees that you don't just say you're the prize, you move like it. Your habits prove it. Your silence confirms it. So no, don't play the game. Games require masks, strategy, pretending. Stand in your truth. Define your pace. Set your standard and let him qualify for you. Because the kind of man who's worth your heart, he's not confused by your confidence and he's inspired by it. Number 8, the final truth. His silence reveals you more than it reveals him. If his silence makes you question your worth, it wasn't self-worth to begin with. It was worth on loan, and the lender just stopped calling. Let's land this together, my friends, because everything we've unpacked so far, it all points here, this final truth. His silence doesn't just show you who he is. It shows you who you are when things get quiet. See, when the texts stop, when the calls slow down, when the attention fades, you're not just reacting to him, you're reacting to your own reflection. That silence becomes a mirror. And what you see staring back, that's where the real work begins. If you crumble, panic, overthink, obsess, it's not because he's distant. It's because somewhere along the way you attached your glow to his gaze. But girl, your confidence isn't real if it can't survive a pause. That's not strength, that's performance. That's borrowed boldness, tied to his attention, to his validation, to whether or not his name lights up your phone. You want to be unforgettable? Then become the kind of woman who doesn't fall apart when things go quiet. Become the kind of woman whose world doesn't shift when his does. Because that energy, that calm, rooted energy, that's rare, that's wild, that's magnetic. Imagine a fire that doesn't beg for oxygen, and it just burns, steady, unapologetic, beautiful. That's you, when you stop chasing proof and start standing in presence. Because listen to me closely, the man who's worth your heart, he doesn't forget the woman who stayed glowing in the dark. She's not dramatic, she's not passive-aggressive, she's not flooding his phone looking for closure. She's simply centered. And that contrast, that peace, it haunts him in the best way. So here's the final shift, the one that separates the woman he forgets from the woman he remembers long after she's gone. If you stay calm when he goes quiet, if you stay glowing while he's gone, you don't just keep your power, you become the storm he remembers. And here's where it all comes together, my friends. His silence was never meant to shrink you. It was meant to reveal you. Not every quiet moment is rejection. Sometimes it's your invitation to rise. When you stay grounded, radiant, and unbothered, you don't just hold your power, you become unforgettable. If this message lit something inside you, like it, subscribe, and share it with a woman who needs to stop questioning herself and start standing tall. Because we're not here to chase love. We're here to attract it by becoming the kind of woman silence can't forget.